getting set for Big Ten Media Days and going to have quite a few observations coming out of that. But I wanted to get started with some things that I would like to see at Big Ten Media Days from some specific teams, specific coaches. And at the top of the list for me is the Ohio State Buckeyes. I really want to see what kind of energy Ryan Day is bringing to Big Ten Media Days and what other players have to say, not just at Ohio State, but around the Big Ten about what they have done in the offseason in putting together this roster. It is the most talented roster in America. That is according to the 247 composite talent rankings. They are a full 2 points ahead on average than anybody else that they're going to see or anybody else in FBS. And there are 134 teams in FBS, including Ohio State. And they did this by being extremely aggressive in the transfer portal. Getting quarterback Will Howard, who, by the way, is a menace in EA Sports College Football 25. I'm stuck with Braden Schrader right now, and he just ain't getting it done. I got to get a quarterback that can move around because when I'm trying to drop back into cover 2 or even cover 6, I'm still getting beat on rollouts where guys are just running wide open down the sideline because, well, we just keep falling back as opposed to closing down. If you can get that kind of play out of Will Howard this season, the Buckeyes are going to go where they want to go. It's also the most mobile quarterback that we're going to see at Ohio State since Justin Fields, who wasn't exactly the most mobile guy there, but he could certainly take off and run. He's just more mobile than, say, C.J. Stroud, more mobile than Kyle McCord. And that's the other reason why this is a big deal. Kyle McCord led Ohio State to what ended up being, right, 11-1 before transferring to Syracuse, but it came down to losing the game, which is another thing I would like to hear them talk about. The game means the world to Ohio State fans and Michigan fans. And here over the last couple of years, it's meant the world to college football, right? We're talking about two teams that we expect to be in the college football playoff, two teams that we expect to win the Big Ten championship, playing against each other in the final weekend of the regular season every single year, yeah, except the one in 2020, where Michigan had to pull out for COVID-related reasons. They finished 2-4. We think that Jim Harbaugh is going to get fired. We think that Ohio State is on fire. They're going to the national championship. They come up just a little bit short. But since that game wasn't played, Michigan has had Ohio State's number by some margin, both in Columbus and in Ann Arbor. In all three instances, Ohio State has had the more talented team. Like I'm talking about how much more talented Ohio State is than everybody else. That's been true when they play Michigan, and yet Michigan has been able to come up with ways to not just stop and stymie, but in some ways embarrass Ohio State. And I think that is what you're seeing many Ohio State fans respond to. They do not want to be embarrassed, and they certainly don't want to be embarrassed by Michigan. In doing some of the reporting around name, image, and likeness, I was very curious to find out how Ohio State's collectives, which there are two that are mainly running this thing, go about getting everybody to fund what they need them to fund, pull in the right direction. A couple things on that. One, Ryan Day is out front going, this is what you can do to help us if you are willing to invest in our players in this way. The other one is losing Michigan probably opened up the pocketbook for a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't, because there are a lot of things that they're willing to put up with, but losing to Michigan ain't one of them. So you can take your prodigious wallet and go get, I think, the best defensive back in football in Caleb Downs to transfer from Alabama to Ohio State to join you on the back end with a bunch of guys that could be scary, right? Like David Igbenison and Denzel Burke and Latham Ransom, right? Along with Caleb Downs. It's going to be fun. Sonny Styles playing a more natural linebacker position. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jim Knowles has that defense doing exactly what we thought it would do when Ryan Day hired him. I'm also curious to find out how they talk about Chip Kelly and his offense and what that's going to mean for Ryan Day. Ryan Day is going, I got to let go of more of this if I want to bring us to the promised land of winning a national championship. I think we're seeing Ryan Day go from being more of a Lincoln Riley type of coach or even Jimbo Fisher type of coach where he needs to have a play card in his hand because he feels that's the best opportunity he's going to give his team to win, to trying to give himself more of Dabo Sweeney's role, right? Dabo can pick up a play card and call plays with the best of them. He doesn't do it as often as some others, but he can do it, especially if there's something going on with one of his coordinators perhaps takes a job, right? I think trying to make him into Mac Brown, we're going just a little too far. Trying to take him into Nick Saban, we're going just a little too far. But in as far as identifying good people to take up a space that you would like to occupy, but probably is the best use of your time, was smart. And then Chip Kelly hiring your mentor, but also a dude that absolutely knows from calling offense, is something of a superpower, I think, for Ohio State. Because now you've allowed Chip Kelly to not have to think about being a head coach for the first time in over a decade, right? He gets to call plays. He gets to line up with Will Howard, let's say, or Julian Sayin, let's say, or Devin Brown, let's say, and Quinshon Judkins, and Travion Henderson, and Emeka Egbuka, and Carnell Tate, and Brandon Ennis, and my God, Jeremiah Smith. That offense on a skill level ought to be great, but that's been true for Ohio State basically for the past decade, since Urban Meyer came in and took that team to an undefeated season in 2012. They've always had offensive talent at skill positions. When the offensive line is good, they look like a national championship team. That is going to be the task at Ohio State this year. We're going to talk a lot about the skill players on the offensive side, but what we're going to need to focus on is the offensive line play. If Seth McLaughlin can't snap the football, they're going to have a bad day, okay? If Will Howard or Devin Brown can't complete passes, they're going to have a bad day. If they can't run the football, it might be a bad season, right? The other thing I would like to see Ohio State talk about in particular, but others, is the impact of what a guy like Jeremiah Smith might bring. Jeremiah Smith is the most talked about true freshman in America. He's identified very early on as a supreme talent by people that know from supreme talent. I would think of him the way that many used to think about, say, Mike Trout coming out of high school. It's like, dude, I don't like saying this because it puts a target on me as much as it puts a target on that dude, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody capable of doing what he's been able to do at his age. I think he's got a chance to be really good, right? And I'm excited to see what Jeremiah Smith adds, because it's very difficult to impress the folks at Ohio State because they see impressive every single day. So when they are impressed, I got to take them at their word on this and go, okay, we got to get Jeremiah Smith on the field quick, fast, and in a hurry. And this is after losing Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Brian Hartline has been doing a job, and it looks like this is the only job he wants to do. I'm with that, right? I'm also curious to find out how Carlos Loughlin has locked in on being running backs coach at Ohio State after changing jobs from Oregon to Ohio State, and they got to go to Oregon this year, where in a game I think is going to be one that decides the Big Ten championship, because between Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon, I think you got the three teams that are most capable of winning the Big Ten championship this year, with Penn State, USC kind of making up that second tier, right? We'll figure out what we know about Iowa, because Iowa's just, they're going to be good. It's just about, is the offense going to have a pulse? You know, we can keep going down the line on that, and we'll talk more about those Big Ten teams throughout the week with Big Ten Media Days going on. I really want to know how talking about the game is going to change for Ohio State, if it's going to change. And by that I mean, they went from we need to defend ourselves or we need to exact vengeance to now, is it getting away from Ryan Day? And this is remarkable, because this man was 56-8 as a head coach. But Ohio State fans be the first people to tell you 3 of those 8 losses are to Michigan. We can't have that, right? We cannot have that. It is untenable. So they've given this man every opportunity to go get the staff he needs, to go get the players he needs, not just to win the Big Ten championship or to win the national championship, but to win the game on November 30th. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure because coaches love to coach one game at a time. They love to go, we are going to go 1-0 this week. And it sucks for Ohio State, or I should say it sucks for Ohio State fans, but it's also kind of, I find some solace in it. Nobody's going to lie to you about what's important at Ohio State. Nobody's going to tell you, you know what, if you go, win 11 but lose 1 and you lose to Michigan, it's fine. Probably make the college football playoff in a 12-team extended format, get another opportunity down the line. That's not what it is over there. They are irrational in how badly they want to beat that team, but accept it. And I think Ryan Day has accepted it. I've certainly accepted it. It doesn't need to make a whole lot of sense to me because it ain't my squad, right? But I also want to know you. I want to understand you. And knowing that this is the game that all Ohio State fans need to win, I love that. I did a segment on Saturday about Arkansas and Texas, because Steve Sarkisian said Arkansas fans hate Texas more than they love themselves, to which Sam Pittman was asked to comment on that. He said he's probably right. And I was thinking, yeah, he is. Oklahoma fans probably hate Texas more than they love themselves, because we're all in on, we want to see you lose. We don't care to who, we want it to be us. But we want to see you lose, especially if nothing good is going to happen to us, right? And I think this year is going to be a year in which everybody's coming from Michigan's head, because they are brand new on the defensive staff, brand new at the head coach position, brand new at the quarterback position, and they don't look to be as talented on the offensive line as they have been in years past, even though Sharon Collins played guard at Kansas. Sharon Moore went to Derby High School in Derby, Kansas, also graduated from Oklahoma, for y'all Michigan men. But there's a whole lot of ways in which this can go bad for Michigan, especially given the ridiculously tough non-conference schedule they're going to see. They got Fresno State, they got Texas. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that Michigan team try to run this gauntlet that is their 2024 schedule here, because A, they don't have to win the Big Ten championship to get into the 12-team playoff, but they probably do need to beat a Texas or an Ohio State. I'm trying to think of who else is on their schedule, as I was dumb enough not to have it pulled up before we started doing the segment. So I apologize for that. But as I'm looking at this, and I know Texas, I know Fresno State, Arkansas State, I don't think that's going to give you a problem. But then they got USC, and Washington, Minnesota's not going to give you any problems. They also got Oregon. And then, they got Oregon and Ohio State with 4 weeks. So it's not impossible, but you do need to get a win against Oregon, SC, Texas, Ohio State, and you need to not lose more than 2. I think a 2-loss non-Power 5 or Power 4 champion coming out of the Big Ten has a great chance to get into the 12-team extended playoff. Also very interesting as we looked at Ohio State. If they were one of these 2-loss teams, would they wait to fire Ryan Day if one of those losses were to Michigan, or would they want to play this one out? Whole lot of questions. Really excited about Big Ten Media Days and what we're probably going to learn from it.